And welcome back to Patience as a Virtue, the YouTube channel devoted to finding futures value in sports wagering. I'm your host, Andrew, and on today's episode, I got a fun little bet for you taking place in the WNBA. Now, this can be found on FanDuel. As far as I know, it's only on FanDuel. And it's going to be when will the first loss come for the New York Liberty, and also when will the first loss come for the Minnesota Lynx. So first, we're going to take a look at the New York Liberty. Currently on FanDuel, the price that I like is taking place on June 29th at Atlanta, and that comes in at plus 2,000. Now, Atlanta's a pretty good team. As it currently stands, that they are third in the standings in the WNBA behind New York and Minnesota. Now, at the time on 6/29, on June 29th, New York is going to be at the very end of a four-game road trip, three of which are going to be on the West Coast. So they're going to play three games on the West Coast, and then they're going to go to Atlanta before going home. Now that's a lot of travel for them. That's going to be a lot of time away from home. So I think that's a prime opportunity for them to be upset. Now Atlanta is currently second in points per game in the WNBA, third in offensive rating, and first in rebounds per game. So if they're having a good offensive night, they may be able to hang with the Liberty. In addition, this is going to be the second of a four-game homestand for Atlanta. So they should be well rested. They're not going to have to do any kind of travel. The game before this is home against Minnesota, and that should be a tough game. But barring any injuries, Atlanta should be in a pretty good spot to possibly pull off the upset on New York. Now, the lowest price in this market is actually on the Indiana Fever in the game taking place on June 14th. Now, Indiana did come close to upsetting New York a few weeks ago. The New York ended up winning the game only by 2 points. And by the time this game starts, this is going to be this Saturday, Caitlin Clark should be back. And so the Fever should be in a good spot, but she's going to have to ramp back up. The team is going to have to make some adjustments back to having her on the squad. And I do think that as long as New York is able to get away from Indianapolis with this victory coming up this Saturday against the Fever, then I do think we want to try and find a longer shot to cash this bet. And I think Atlanta is a good shot. And at plus 2,000, I really like that price. So I think it's a fun little bet. I'm going to take Atlanta to be the first team to upset the New York Liberty. And again, that's taking place on 6/29. And you can find that at plus 2,000 on FanDuel. Now, the next bet I want to look at is Minnesota. So I'm going to give you two options for Minnesota's first loss. The first is on June 24th at Washington, coming in at plus 1,800. And the second is on June 27th at Atlanta at plus 1,500, the game that I talked about just a little bit earlier. So really, when it comes down to Atlanta, same thing applies against New York. They're a pretty solid team. They've got a good offense, and I think they should be able to hang with both of these two teams, and they'll be on a little bit of a homestand. Not as much for Minnesota. They'll be coming off a road game as their previous game, but I still think that Atlanta poses a real difficult task for both those two teams. I also like the idea of Washington at plus 1,800. Now, coming in the season, they were thought to be a pretty bad team, and they've shown a lot more fight and a lot more resolve than what people expected, and they're a little feistier than what a lot of people thought. Now, Washington, their defense is a little bit stronger than what you might have expected. They're currently sixth in opponent points per game. They're third in opponent field goal percentage, and they're first in rebounds. So if their defense is able to hold up, they might be able to pull this upset against Minnesota. I don't think it's likely that they're going to win, but I love the fact that it's going to be on the road, and I do like the price of 1,500. I think there is value on that as well. So for me, I would probably place a bet on both these two as good options. Now, this market is kind of a shooting fish in the barrel sort of thing. It's really hard to predict when a team is going to have a loss. So I want to strongly stress that if you do choose to play this market, please make sure that these are very small bets. I mean, we're talking like a tenth of a unit is what you want to put out here. This really is more of a fun bet as opposed to something that you're really going to be trying to earn a lot of money on. It's very hard to predict this, but I do think it's fun. I do think there is some value on both of those. So those are the two picks for me for when the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx are going to have their first loss. Again, for the Liberty, I think it is going to come against the Atlanta Dream. Again, that is on 6/29, and the price is plus 2,000 at FanDuel. And for Minnesota, I did two picks. I think it could be either at Washington on 6/24 plus 1,800, and or on 6/27 at Atlanta. That's plus 1,500. So those are my two choices for this market. And that's going to do it for this episode. Always remember to never bet more than you can afford to lose. Always remember to gamble responsibly. And never forget, patience is virtue.